I assumed I was happy. But it's kind of hard to stay positive if you read anything about biodiversity and the environment in Australia. For instance, the Wilderness Society says Australia has lost 27% of its rainforest, 19% of open forest, 11% of woodland forest and 28% of mallee forest since 1750. Recent Department of Planning and Environment data says that woodland clearing in 2021 compared to the year before shows an overall 7% decrease in hectares of native vegetation cleared. So is land clearing slowing down? Meanwhile, the Threatened Species Recovery Hub tells us that populations of Australian terrestrial birds have declined by 50% since 1990. The primary motivator for land clearing in Australia is agricultural production, especially livestock. Australia remains the only developed nation on the list of global deforestation fronts. Somehow, Tasmania comes in 5th on the top 10 countries with the most deforestation. BirdLife Australia says new data reveals 60% decline in threatened bird populations. A national survey finds Australians want governments to lift their game for nature. And the Australian Farm Institute says distortions and mistruths about land clearing just keep on coming. So who do you believe?
Is it possible, as ancient astronaut theorists contend...
Shut up. You're no help at all. Xylomekum is a genus of 6 species of small trees with opposite leaves. They are commonly known as woody pears. They are in the family Proteaceae and are endemic to Australia. The Proteaceae family comprises 83 genera with about 1,660 known species worldwide. Xylomekum have brown, flaky bark. And grows in the area marked in red on the map. This is the fruit, a woody pear-shaped follicle which splits and releases 2 winged seeds, a bit like Hakea, but a shitload bigger. The adult leaves have entire margins. A complete suprageneric classification of the Proteaceae family was published in 1975 by Johnson and Briggs. However, much has changed since then in the way that phylogenies are reconstructed and in the way they are used to justify higher-level classifications. DNA sequences are now used routinely as a source of characters for phylogenetic analysis, and explicit algorithms are routinely used to analyse them. The 1975 work was largely superseded by the molecular studies of Peter H. Weston and Nigel Barker in 2006. These are the Xylomekum flower buds. This tree is mental. In fact, all Proteaceae members are rather mental. These are the juvenile leaves, coarse, prickly edges, and look quite different from the adult leaves. The family Proteaceae is in the order Proteales. Under Angiosperm phylogeny group 4, this is the current circumscription of the order. The Proteaceae family is now divided into 5 subfamilies. And the subfamilies are further divided into tribes and subtribes. So Xylomekum pyriforme are in the order Proteales, family Proteaceae, subfamily Grevilleoideae, tribe Rupaliae, subtribe Lambertiniae, and genus Xylomelum. Xylomelum. Yeah, I can't remember it either. Grevilleoideae are mainly a southern hemisphere subfamily. The main centre of diversity is Australia, with around 700 of the 950 species occurring here. The Xylomelum flowers are arranged in dense, spike-like racemes or panicles in pairs with a bract at the base. Each flower has 4 tepals that roll back as the flower develops, revealing 4 stamens. Petunias also have 4 valvate tepals. While we're nerding out here, this is the full phylogeny of Proteaceae. Got that? Good work. These are waratah leaves. Xylomelum's leaves are opposite and waratahs are not. The venation is very similar. Waratahs have toothy margins. All the better to bite you with, you mongrel. This is Acacia myrtifolia in the pea family. You can usually identify it by the red stems. It's very widespread in eastern Australia. It has phyllodes rather than leaves and produces the little yellow puffball flowers, typical of a lot of the species of acacia. Phyllodes are modified petioles or leaf stems, which are leaf-like in appearance and function. This plant is in the genus Billardiera, a group of around 40 climbing species, all endemic to Australia. Widespread on the east coast, they can be found in coastal heath and sclerophyll forest. The fruits are these oblong green things about 30 mils long. Leaves are linear. Margins are kind of squiggly. It produces these bell-shaped flowers. Petals are about 20 millimeters long. The flowers are very hairy. Has wavy margined leaves. Obviously a bit of variation in the leaves. These are a lot fatter. Anyway, enough of this. Let's see what else is on.
Four for $1. Here's even more dollar dazzlers that save.
Let's stick to the plants for now. Here's a favourite Central Coast tree, Angophora hispida. The red parts are the new fruit developing. One thing I know about the genus Angophora, they have opposite leaves, rather than the alternate leaves like the genus Eucalyptus. Here are the main species of Angophora. There are a bunch of subspecies and different researchers use different names. It's all very confusing. Just as confusing, Angophora comes under the umbrella term eucalypt. The Euclid Eucalyptus Key website says hispid comes from the Latin word hispidus, meaning rough to the touch of the leaves. That sounds like a crock to me. I thought it was named hispida because of the bristles on the fruit that you can see here. Angophora hispida leaves are light green, sessile, decussate and lingulate. The fruit are hispid and ridged, a bit like my clackers. This species is localised to the red part of the map. There is a lot of shake-up because of DNA research within the eucalypts. In 2000, Brooker produced a paper where he divides the genus Eucalyptus into 7 polytypic subgenera. Part of this dissolves the genus Angophora and Corymbia. They become Eucalyptus subgroup Angophora and Eucalyptus subgroup Corymbia. But Frank Udovicic et al. From Royal Botanic Gardens, Victoria, wrote that he rejects the combining of the genera, saying, Brooker's classification of the eucalypts, which combines Angophora, Corymbia and Eucalyptus into one genus, is contrary to phylogenetic evidence based on 8 different data sets, including morphology, restriction fragment length polymorphisms, and sequence data for various regions of nuclear and chloroplast DNA. By the way, we are looking at the hispida flowers now. Nicole, in his paper Classification of the Eucalypts, genus Eucalyptus version 7 from 2024, follows Brooker by stating, I believe that including all the eucalypts within a single genus is a better option. Notice hispida fruit do not have a cap like the genus Eucalyptus. The pointy bits that make up the star shape are the sepals. The flowers have the typical crazy stamens of eucalypts. So there is a taxonomic punch-up going on. I thought DNA research would have made classification a simpler job, but obviously not. Here is a much more well-known member of the genus Angophora. This is Angophora costata. The woody fruit capsules are ribbed like hispida, but lack the hispid bristles and are smaller, This species is particularly common on Hawkesbury sandstone. The leaves are thinner and look more like eucalyptus leaves. This map shows the range of costata. Eucalypts make up 10% of the world's commercial forests, which translates to about 30 million hectares. There could be as many as 900 species. However, only 9 species occupy more than 90% of the area planted with eucalypts. The old costata bark is shed in spring in large flakes, with the new salmon pink bark turning to pale grey before the next shedding. This is a Pacris longa flora, a favourite with bushwalkers because of the red tubular flowers that are easy to spot. There are 38 species of Pacris in Australia. This is another member of the Myrtaceae family, Leptospermum. The red in the flower centre makes me think this is the species Trinervium. A DNA-based revision of the genus Leptospermum was published in August 2023 by Wilson et al. This plant is now known as Gordium Trinervium, though not all state herbaria have adopted the new naming yet. The bark is dark and very flaky. Oh, carnivorous plant alert. This is Drosera spatulata. But we're really here to see this thing. Okay, so this plant is Blandfordia nobilis. The native plants of Sydney Field Guide only mentions this species, so I'm going to go with that. There are 2 other species in New South Wales, Grandiflora and Cunninghamii. Loves growing in boggy ground. We see a lot of it, but always in small numbers. I doubt you would ever find a field of them. The bell-shaped flowers are 40 millimetres long by about 10 millimetres wide and are kind of rubbery, and they don't give off any scent. They have long red pedicels and thick fibrous roots and a tuberous culm with a dark red stem. They are what the web calls a tufted perennial monocotyledonous herb, but they would say that. Grows in a fairly small east coast area. Here is a shot of the green pointy seed pods that point skyward. This yellow flower is a species of Goodenia. Carnivorous plant Drosera spatulata. That's right. I remember now. On the way back we became hopelessly lost. Seeing a figure up ahead, we decided to ask for directions. The man was tending to his agapanthus plants. He looked up and we locked eyes. Suddenly a chill ran up my spine. There was something about the eyes, those cold, dark eyes, unsettling, lifeless eyes, full of foreboding, two small black dots, the dead eyes of an agapanthus fan. He drove off at speed. I looked in the rearview mirror. He was still staring with those eyes. Barney Rubble eyes. He had Barney Rub.